Hey there!
Hello everybody, you are tuned into Normal Wealth. My name is Nell.
And my name is Lebu. In the weekend, we had an awesome weekend, man. We had an awesome weekend. Everybody came through. We stuck to the COVID regulations. And man, if you didn't actually attend, you really missed out.
I mean, our property workshop are quite unique because our whole aim is about how do we bring content, how do we bring our network that we're actually using within our property journey, and then how do we invite you into that circle so that you can really see what we're about. Shout out to everybody who came through, and if you're in Durban and Cape Town, we've got a surprise for you.
Make sure that you keep tuned and you do actually follow us on social media. So now, with that being said, today we actually want to speak about what should I actually consider before investing within my 20s? So now the first thing that we wanted to speak about is financial health. How do you get your financial health intact so that you are enabled to go into property investing?
Property investing in your 20s. I mean, this weekend I was asked a very important and personal question that what advice do you have for a 16-year-old or even 18-year-old who wants to go into property investing? And it's quite clear that, guys, we need to actually invest in ourselves. We need to actually focus on credit as soon as possible. So when I'm saying as soon as possible, I mean as soon as you hit 18, you should be actually thinking that how can I position myself with where I am today in terms of how do I move forward. So credit is very important.
Most definitely. And now with getting credit, remember, credit can actually be used for good and it can actually be used for bad. If you can actually handle credit, make sure that you don't come into the property industry, because now the problem is going to be you going to be getting a lot of credit. If you can't actually control yourself in terms of using this credit in a manner that will actually benefit you, then please do stay out of property investing. Because the last thing that I want is that you're saying that the Long brothers said that I need to actually take credit. Now look at my mess. Because we know, man, if you can't handle credit, basically means that you will have an excuse in terms of why you are actually in problems. So make sure that you have your financial game on fleek in terms of you know how to actually manage your money and you also know how to manage your credit.
Let's look at this then, that the practicality of you going into property investing, it's either it will be through credit or it will be through cash.
Yes.
That's the way that we focus on investing in property with regards to Long Wealth. So now you're going to ask yourself, does mommy and daddy actually have that 2 million or 3 million to give me to invest? If not, then you already know that you're going to position yourself so that the bank actually looks at you as a candidate that's worthy of getting X amount. The last thing that you want is actually depending on other funders, because now you really need to understand, what does joint venture mean? I want to put out the practicality of joint venture, because if I'm saying that I'll be borrowing 8 million from investors that I know and I'm going to be buying a deal only to find out that the cash that I'll be receiving after that it's 1,000. The main question that I'll be asking myself is, how am I going to repay that 8 million that I borrowed? So you need to be very practical in your approach so that you do not only rely on the cash that's not there, or the cash that's not there, it's not an excuse, or you're not waiting for somebody to say, you know what, I'm going to fund you. However, rather you position yourself in a way whereby you know that the banks are there are financial institutions that are out there, but all you need to do is that check how is your financial health.
Most definitely. So now the second point that we actually wanted to talk about is the education side of it, right? So now, because you've watched this far, basically means that you have actually been acquiring information in terms of how to actually position yourself as a property investor. However, it doesn't actually end here, because now the problem is that you'd find me saying something on YouTube, right? And now it's just put in a broad manner. Whereas when you do actually talk to me one-on-one and I actually go deeper into what I was saying, it then means a totally different thing from what you have actually said. You don't want to leave this to interpretation. So now it's important to actually invest in yourself. So now if you are sitting in a point whereby you're saying that, you know what, I want to actually invest in property, I want to start building my wealth, then you need to also make sure that you also need to invest in yourself before you can invest in a property. Because now remember, the last thing that you want is getting to a situation whereby you are buying this property, once you've bought this property only to find out that it goes bad, the deal goes bad. What do you do in that particular situation? So now you need to make sure that you are actually always investing in yourself, equipping yourself with the relevant information that will help you to invest better.
I mean, look at it this way. From investing in yourself, you can buy books, you can listen to audiobooks, you can watch YouTube, you can actually even attend seminars. But now the real question is, how do I apply all of that information to where I am? It was clear during the property workshop that we had. We made it clear that with property investing, it's not a one shoe fits all. So now refinancing for somebody can work out. However, refinancing for me, there's a possibility that it won't work out. Now also, if I'm actually investing in, somebody can actually buy an apartment and that can make sense for them. It can actually make a good cash flow investment. However, for me, it actually doesn't make sense. So what you really need, especially when it comes to the education side, is somebody who will tailor make all this information or make it relevant towards where you are right now. How do I actually apply refinancing with the property that I have right now? Just to give you a quick example, if I'm having a property, let's say it's worth 500,000, and then I've already covered about 300,000, and then I know that I can actually get X amount, compared to Lebu, who bought a property worth 1.5 million, and then he also wants to refinance. It's two different approaches. At the end of the day, what I'm trying to say is that you really need somebody who's going to bring all of that information into perspective for you where you are right now. And we actually have a link below. If you watched until this far and you're like, guys, I heard you talking about all of this information that I can't get, but now I want to actually understand this is the position that I'm at, and how can I link that with where I need to go.
So now the third point that we have is your network. So make sure that you attend property seminars, because that's where people that are interested in investing in property are actually going. We always hear this term that your network is equals to your net worth. So now the reason why we are actually saying this, right, is that if you are faced in a situation whereby you need a contractor that will come and actually help you within your project right now, and you do not know anybody that's within the property investing industry, now that becomes a problem for you to know that who's the right person to actually speak to. So now if you do not actually understand those terms, and you do not actually understand where to go to when you need help, it then becomes a problem for you. It might not only mean the monetary term, in monetary terms, in terms of us having money and giving it to this particular deal. It might also mean that what type of pain can we actually remove from ourselves? So now if you do have a huge tax bill to actually pay, and now you don't know any property investors, that's a problem for you.
It's very important as a property investor to understand that we are property investors. We're not conveyancers, we're not attaining, we're not accountants, we're not contractors, we're not project managers. Guys, we are property investors. So what our job is, finding that good deal, running the numbers. That's our job. So negotiating again, that is our job as property investors. So now once you actually understand that, you get to understand that you need a team. So this is a problem, especially when you find that with people that have just joined property investing and they want to do everything alone. Now I want to actually balance my books. Now I want to write my own offer to purchase, or I want to write my own lease agreement. It will come back to you somewhere, somehow. So how our journey has been easier is that we have been relying on experts in the field. That, you know what, you're a conveyancer, you've graduated for that, you've been doing this for 10 years, and I trust you. How can you make my journey easier? So once you start accepting that, that's when you'll actually see that your journey will be easier. Because I mean, now even with getting a coach itself, guys, if I'm like, you know what, I'm not going to invest in myself in terms of I'm going to be my own coach, the main question will be, do you have a fixed strategy to get to where you'd like to be in 5 years? Because most of people that getting into property, they want to get into property for financial freedom, or they just want to get into property for generational wealth. However, now if I am buying the wrong properties at this point in time, how am I going to get to financial freedom? How am I going to get to generational wealth? Instead of me getting there, there's a possibility that I can even be bankrupt. So it's very important to actually understand that my job as a property investor is to get good deals and negotiate. Then the rest, you rely on your power team.
Sure. So now the last point that we actually wanted to speak about is the market and your strategy. So now we have actually established that property investing is not a one size fit all, right? So now in this case, Nell might be the one that will be like, you know what, I'm about generational wealth. If I'm Neo and I'm looking at generational wealth, I'm looking at money that's going to be coming on a monthly basis, which basically means that I need to go into the rental space, right? Then on the flip side, Lebu might be saying that, you know what, I need money right now. I want to start my business. I want to actually use this money to do some other project that I actually want, and I need a whole lot of money. What I can then do is that I can actually use the flip strategy. However, it is important to understand both strategies, the flip and the rental. Why is that? When you need an exit strategy, then it will actually come into place. So now if Neo is saying that he wants to rent out the property, and now he's seeing that the interest rates are going way up, and now this problem is now affecting his cash flow. Now the problem becomes that how does he sell it? If he doesn't have an exit strategy, then that becomes a huge problem to him. Signing out.